Hey everybody, thanks for joining, all the new people coming in. Love you guys. We're gonna smash, and we're gonna talk, and we're gonna impart some knowledge. We're gonna share some culture with each other. And so, like I said, I'm here. I'm gonna be here with Deb Holland, this Secretary of the Department of the Interior, who I met in 2018 for the first time, when all of these wonderful women of color, BIPOC women, were first sworn into our Congress in historical numbers. And ever since then, things have been just, I think, a seismic shift in the political scene in Washington, D.C., much because of the heart and wisdom that these BIPOC women have brought to the Hill. I've been there many, many times, and it's never been quite as light or enjoyable as it was in 2018 when we swore in all these beautiful, powerful, intelligent women. So I want to just hit a few talking points before Deb Holland joins us. These are on the relief for tribal nations and Native communities. This is what the Democrats and President Biden have done with this $1.9 trillion American Relief Act, American Rescue Plan. So, some tribal communities have faced among the highest per capita infection rates in the country. And tribes have lost many native language speakers to this disease. I have many native friends who've lost elders, who are language keepers, who were culture keepers, who were long-time native leaders. I mean, you can't believe how many people. In 1 week, I know people who had lost 5 different people to COVID. Now, this plan establishes a national COVID-19 vaccination program that will speed up the distribution of vaccinations, including to Native communities, while providing billions of dollars for funding to expand testing and contact tracing, which is what we need to stop this thing. We need to vaccinate, we need to test, we need to wear our masks, and we need to figure out how and where it's entering the public and quarantine. Now, President Biden, this is significant. President Biden is committed to honoring the federal trust and treaty responsibility of tribal nations. He's saying he's going to honor it. Now, these are agreements that are decades old, 100 years old, some of them, between the native people, between the original people of this country, and the federal government. These were binding commitments that were made between two powerful entities in the United States, two sovereign entities. The original people of this country made these agreements with the federal government as a way of creating peace. They were the holders of this nation. And so they said yes to the United States government. We will share this nation with you under these circumstances. This wasn't something that was forced upon them. This is something that they came to the table willingly. And the United States of America came to the table willingly to make these treaties, to make these agreements. It's no different than if we made an agreement with some of our allies, France, Germany, England. These are binding agreements, except the United States has repeatedly not honored their agreements with the Native people. And so when President Biden says that he is going to honor federal trust and treaty responsibility with tribal nations, that is historical. Now, if he does it, it'll be more historical because many people have said it in the past, but that doesn't mean it's happened. So that's an important thing. The president signed the most significant funding legislation for Indian country that will result in the largest federal investment in Native communities ever. That's incredible. There has never been such a showing for Native people in the United States from the United States government in way of funding. If you go to the reservation anywhere in the United States, most reservations. Yep, are we ready? You're on mute.
Sorry, they're on the call. Yes, they're about to request.
Okay, I'm going to keep my eyes out. Okay, guys, everybody, here comes Secretary Deb Haaland. Let's see.
All right. Go into the tab next to the chat, and it...
Tab next to the chat? Under the chat?
It's... I'm talking to Mark, I'm sorry. Sorry, Karen. So there's a little icon next to the chat, and hold on, I need to figure out what it looks like so I can tell you.
Hi guys, I'm trying to get signed on here.
What does it look like?
Thank you for your kind remarks, everybody. I love you guys too. Love you, Brazil. Thank you for following me. Love you, Germany. Love all the...
So wait,
There she is.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Hi.
Are we in?
We're in. How are you?
Thanks, Mark. It still says connecting on my end, but if you can see me, I'm good.
I can see you, and I can just see you're frozen, but I can hear you. So we could there she is.
Okay. Excellent.
Secretary.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing well.
So glad to see you, and thank you for your time today. I know you're busy, so we can jump in.
Of course.
First of all, we met in 2018. I was just telling the folks, we met in 2018 when you were being sworn in as a first Native American congresswoman, and now you're in the president's cabinet. Now that's a long way to go in such a short period of time. But you know, you've been in politics for many years, so I want to talk to you a little bit about your journey of how you got here, and this other historic moment of you being the first Native American woman leading the Department of Interior. I mean, it's unbelievable what you've accomplished in these short 3 years.
Well, Mark, I want to say that it isn't just my accomplishment. It's, I had amazing staff, congressional staff. I had amazing colleagues who helped me to get legislation passed. I mean, I had an amazing, district who the folks that I loved in District 1 who supported the legislation and the policies and all these things that I did. So I feel like it was a real group effort. And certainly, Mark, you have been a wonderful ally for Indian country. And, we all appreciate you immensely.
Thank you. I love you guys. And it's just, Deb, it's part of, I think, why you are as successful as you are, is that you actually do give the people around you that work with you the praise that they deserve. It's a nice quality in one of our leaders.
I think that's a trait that we share, Mark.
I'm honored to say that we share that.
Yeah.
Deb, can you share a little bit about your background? And because I know that's a bit important part of who you are and what it was like growing up in a pueblo as a Laguna woman.
Sure, sure. So, well, some folks know that my dad was in the Marines for 30 years. So we did travel a lot, as kids. A military family, you're stationed in one place for a couple of years and then you pack up and move. My dad was always, he said it was on order of the president. So wherever the president told him to go, that's where he went. So I had opportunities to live near oceans in California and on the East Coast here in Virginia. I've had opportunities to hike mountain trails, fish on lakes, rowboat in swamps. I mean, my dad was, he was an avid outdoors person and made sure that we were outdoors a lot. During the summers, we'd go home to spend the summers with my grandparents, where I would help my grandfather in his cornfield and, help him irrigate, pull weeds, pick worms off corn. The life of a farmer, that was really great for me when I was growing up. And then on the other side, when harvest came in, my grandmother, that's all she did was take care of the food that my grandfather grew. So I had so many opportunities just to, have my hands in the earth and feel water, trickling through my fingers. It's been a wonderful, I've had those wonderful experiences to really understand why it's important that we protect our earth, why it's important that we protect our cultures and our traditions as well.
It's interesting because you were saying that it brought you into contact with so many different kinds of people, moving to all those different places. So you really did get to understand kind of the commonality between all of these different groups of people from a very early age. I mean, I know a lot of what we call military brats. I grew up in Virginia Beach, which at one point I was in. Many of my friends were military brats, and they would tell me stories of all places they had lived all over the world. And so they always had kind of this understanding of the world that I didn't. And so you really came into contact with a lot of different kinds of people throughout your journey, haven't you? And cultures.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And I feel like, my dad helped me to understand, my mom and my dad, right? My mother, our Pueblo upbringing, it's like we're all about community, right? If you're okay, everyone has to be okay. Like, we have to all be okay together. We can't just, not care about the folks in our community. And that's what I learned from my mom. And my dad just, taught us to embrace the outdoors. There were days with my dad when we would just spend the entire day outside, even if it was in our backyard. He loved being outdoors. And so I think, the folks here at the Interior Department, regardless of what bureau they're in, I think we all share that. In all the different bureaus, folks who work in the national parks, folks who work on the Bureau of Land Management, people who work with water and with offshore wind, like all of us sort of share that common ideal that our natural resources should be protected so that we can have them for future generations. And I'm really proud to be on this team right now, Mark. It's amazing. And with the president's agenda, with everything that he plans to move forward, it's such an honor to be here and to work for a better future for everyone.
So let's talk about that. I mean, that's a 1.9 trillion American rescue plan that the Democrats and President Biden recently passed into law. I mean, this is the largest. It includes the largest investment in Indian country since the creation of the federal government. Its programs It's going to invest 1.75 billion in American Indian and Alaska Native government programs. So can you tell me a little bit about what that impact is going to have on Indian country, as well as the programs that will be funded in the Bureau of Indian Affairs and the Bureau of Indian Education?
Right, right. So with respect to the BIA, you know, during the pandemic, we saw how the pandemic highlighted the disparities in Indian country. You know, there were articles written about folks who couldn't access clean water because it's polluted, or they just have never had running water. And clean water, it's a human right. Everybody deserves to have clean water. And $850 million for BIE schools, Bureau of Indian Affairs schools, tribal colleges and universities. So it's certainly exciting to think about, you know, that aid. The federal government cares deeply about tribes. And I want to also add that that our Bureau of Indian Affairs, our Principal Deputy Assistant Secretary, Brian Newland, has already had tribal consultations with respect to the ARP. He wants to make sure that tribes have a voice in how, you know, how the money is allocated. So I think it's great. We've had a lot of participation in those tribal consultation events, and we'll definitely have more.
Can I ask you, first of all, I want to pull one thing out of that, and as it pertains to COVID-19, is that there are so many Native folks that don't have water, that don't have running, water. And when you think about how you're supposed to wash your hands or deal with COVID in those homes, it's, you know, it's incredible. And so it is such an important moment, and Biden is making these issues a real thing. Now let me just also say, has it been your experience that you guys have had that kind of consultation that you're getting now?
Well, I think, you know, consultations is actually a requirement.
Yes, I know.
in case nobody knew. I think what President Biden has promised and has instilled is that it's internet service, then we need to think of another way to make sure that their voices are at the table. So we want to make sure that that tribes have a true voice, robust tribal consultation. That's what the president promised, and that's what we're going to deliver.
Wonderful. And you know, I was telling the folks earlier how hard your community, the Native community, was hit by COVID. I mean, you are the hardest hit per capita communities in the nation on COVID. I was saying how many Native folks, elders that I met at Standing Rock that are no longer with us, that have passed on to the other world. I mean, and language keepers. I mean, it was profound, the burden that you guys have had to carry from the pandemic. Can you tell us more about the prioritized commitments that you guys are receiving in assistance?
Right, exactly. So, yes, the COVID-19 pandemic has just been devastating, and part of it, of course, is because tribes didn't have beforehand. They didn't have, you know, they had persistent, you know, persistently underfunded for some of these areas, right? So so what President Biden absolutely wants to do is make sure that tribes have the resources they need, especially for COVID, that IH, Indian Health Service, gets funding enough so that they can actually provide the services they need. I just want to give a shout out to tribes across the country in so many places who have gone gangbusters on the vaccinations and who have used their community organizing skills to make sure that their people are getting vaccinated. And I feel just so relieved that we're at that point, right? And I'm super happy about that. We still have a long way to go. And of course, Mark, I have often sent my condolences to folks who have lost loved ones, you know, over this past year. It's sad and terrible, and the, you know, the least we can do is promise to provide the resources that tribes need moving forward, and do our very best to make sure that we know what their needs are, and work to remedy those. I
agree. It's and it's been inspiring to see what folks are doing. I mean, you guys have rolled out vaccinations as a model for the nation. It's been really impressive to see how you guys have dealt with it. We have one more question. I know you got to go. Let's just talk a little bit about, you know, recently I've begun working with some of the Lakota elders about returning the Black Hills, which are considered a sacred site to the Dakota people, along with the Bears Ears that President Obama gave protection to, protection status before Trump stripped it away. Can you talk about a little bit about these sacred sites and the significance of them to the Native people, and why it's important to protect them, and what the Department of Interior can do to protect these sites and sacred areas for across the nation for all different people?
Yes. You know, one thing that I feel like I've consistently pointed out is just because sacred sites aren't within exterior boundaries of tribes, it doesn't mean that we shed our obligation to care about those sites, right? Regardless of where these sacred sites are, if they're traditional and historical, and we have learned that it's our obligation to care for them, we will do that until we die, right? That's an obligation that we have our entire lives. And I know how important those areas are. I'm actually traveling to Utah. I'm going to Bears Ears next week. I'm going to meet with some tribal leaders. I'm going to have and I've been there once before. I've camped out. I've hiked in those canyons. Amazing and beautiful. It's a very spiritual place. So I am absolutely looking forward to connecting there. I know and understand how important sacred sites are to Native people, but they're also important to our country, right? They're important to every child, every person who lives in this country. It's part of our history as Americans, and tribes have been so generous to share so much of their culture with you know, America, and I'm anxious to hopefully make sure that the president knows how I feel about these sacred places, and certainly regard all those places with the respect that that those places deserve as we're moving forward.
Sure. Yeah. You know, I when you go to these places, and I invite everyone to do it, because many of them are already, you know, national parks. You just sense the grandeur and the solemnity of the places and the beauty, and you see why they're sacred. They're sacred to anyone who walks into them and has a heart and a mind and eyes and ears to feel and see the place. And so it doesn't seem like a big jump to want to protect them, and so and to honor them. So I invite anyone to do it. It's very calming and healing, and gives you a sense of um, of why they're so important, and why the native people made them sacred places. So I know you got to go. I really appreciate your time, Deb.
Thank you, Mark.
Thank you for your work.
Thank you so much. It's wonderful to see you. Congratulations on all the terrific things that you're doing. Your awards, so well deserved. I'm one of your big fans, so I'm going to keep watching. And you're in my prayers.
Thank you, Deb. And your daughter and I are friends. Soma, we work together. So please send her my love, and I'll see you again.
I will. Thanks so much for mentoring her.
She's the
really
best.
Appreciate it. Okay. Bye bye.
And she's an actor, so she needs an acting gig.
Let's do it.
Watching.
Okay. Bye bye.
Wow. That was great. Thank you, Deb. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in and hanging out and joining us. That was really informative and exciting. So I wish you all the best from all over the world, from America, from Indian country, for tuning in, and hope to see you again. Lots of love. Peace.